When I was a full-time freedom singer, was a sister of another mister who sang a song. She said, "I hate the capitalist system. I'll tell you the reason why. It has caused me so much suffering and my dearest friends to die. I know you all are wondering what it has done to me. Well, I'll tell you," she said. "My husband had TB." The song makes the connection between all of the misery sponsored by, trade-marketed, and patented by this corrupt system that can't be fixed, can't be bandaged, can't be fixed, can't be bandaged, has to come tumbling down. That's what we are here for. That's why we're different. We're different from everybody who sides with our enemies. We're different from the Teflon elected officials who watch as our children are murdered and slip off into the corner and take their pay envelopes and never see an indictment through, never see a punishment through, hide our children's corpses in back rooms and lie to their parents and lie to the media. And we thought that we could work with it. We thought we could peacefully coexist with it. We thought that we could just by and by in the morning, when the morning comes, everything would be all right. We thought that this thing could work, but it can't. Can't work. It can't work from the first burlap sack over the head, the first kidnapping, the first strange fruit to now. It can't work. It just can't work. We want it to work because we want to get along like Larry, like our brother Rodney King said, "Can't we all get along?" We want it to work for our children. We want them to go to school and learn and walk side by side with children of all colors. We want them to be a part of the rainbow. Mamie Till wanted that for her child. When she sent him from up south Chicago, down south Mississippi to visit her people in Money, Mississippi, LaFleur County. And the only way they recognized Emmett Till, who is Allen, who is Trayvon, the only reason they could recognize him is because he was still wearing his daddy's ring. They got sloppy. They didn't take it off in time. And she recognized her mutilated baby boy. It can't work. It can't work because some Jackson State University students were traveling back after Thanksgiving holiday. And one of the young men was in the back seat, Sister Buford, reading his Bible when they were pulled over. And when he went to put the Bible down, they blew his brains out, saying they thought he had a gun. It can't work. It can't work because Mitchell Virgil was just chilling on spring break with his friends on the beach in Gulfport, Mississippi. When they asked for ID, he dutifully went to obediently reach for what authority demanded. He had been taught, he knew that white rule, he knew about white under the color of law. He had been told, like Emmett had been told, obey. And he reached for his ID and was gunned down in the sand. And the blood ran through the sand. And the killers went free. And Raynard Johnson, like Allen, had just graduated high school, had a scholarship to go to Alcorn State University to study engineering. And Raynard dared to believe that we had made the change that we say we're going to make. And two of his friends were white females. And he didn't understand in the 21st century that that was forbidden, that he wasn't allowed to have white female friends. And he was Emmett. And he was Emmett. And he was Emmett. And so right there in front of his family home, he was found hanging with his feet flat and a belt that had been attached for symbolic reasons. His neck had been snapped already. He had been murdered. And then they hung him from the tree to send the important message that this thing is not over. And I feel bad in Mississippi for white folks who believe they have coverage because of white skin, no matter how scaly the skin, no matter how poor they are, no matter how downtrodden, they are told that they have it made because they're not niggers, they're white. And yet and still in Staten Island, a few years before Nicholas Bartlett was murdered, a young working class white boy, 16 years old from Staten Island, he and his girlfriend had a spat. And he climbed up the fire escape West Side Story style with a box of candy in one hand. And he was pulling the fire escape steps down when they shot him down right there in cold blood. No coverage, no indictment for him either. And we understand the connections between that kind of suffering that spread across everybody who languishes in misery, who has no chance, no opportunity for due process or prosecution of any kind whatsoever. We understand it because of Central Park. We understand it because they took Eleanor Bumpers out of her house buck naked. And when the community ran to put a sheet over her, they cursed the police officers and they said she was too big for a body bag. But the sophistication that we've developed through the books of our oppressors, the texting now, the internet, the Googling, leads us to a comfortable place where these horrible things only happen every now and then. And it's not necessarily in the flow of what happens every day. So I'm here just to shed some light in these few minutes on the historical backdrop of how these killings under the color of law continue unabated without prosecution, without punishment that fits the crime. Now, Zimmerman was a law enforcement officer, deputized to be what? A neighborhood watchman, a night rider, a profiler, a killer who had made 37 calls to the police department. He got on their nerves. He got on their nerves. They were sick of his calls. They see his call come up on the ID. They hated this guy calling all the time on frivolous matters, begging them to profile young black and brown children. But when he committed the crime, they circled the wagons. Suddenly, they had no problem with Zimmerman because they had circled the wagons. In the state of Mississippi, which is the capital of all of the tragedies and lynchings and murders of our people under the color of law, the capital of it. Just last year, on June 26th, James C. Anderson was coming out of a bar in Jackson, Mississippi. Little did he know these little baby Klansmen had decided while watching the game in Pearl, Mississippi and Rankin County that they were going to go out and kill. Not hurt, not threaten, but kill. And they used the word, the racially charged word nigger. They drove across that bridge and they came on James C. Anderson. Now they didn't shoot him. No, they were in 2 carloads. The driver drove over him several times with people in the front seat and in the cab, in the back. The second carload saw what was happening, claimed they didn't know it was going to be a killing. They changed their minds and went back home. Didn't go to the police department, though. Went straight home and said nothing until they were questioned days later. And we know from law school, from the slave master founding fathers institutions, that we're taught conspiracy. Once you're in, you're in. They call it the wheel and the spoke. You're involved. You can't drop out. Oh, and see, look, that part right there. I didn't know what you really want to do. Look, I see you. You go to your house. The only way you can get out is if you go to the police station, to the authorities, and say there's been a killing, and I'm not part of it. But every time this happens, they're a part of it. And it's painful to know that Billy Joe Johnson was just like Raynard, was just like Alan Buford, was just like Trayvon. They were all around the same age, 17. They were all into sports. They had made touchdowns. They had made something of themselves. And look how they were cut down, and look at the record of no justice. And so we can't intellectualize. We can't sit back and every now and then call something like this and sit around and talk and have tea and crumpets. We got to get more than mad. We got to be disorderly all the time. We got to be disorderly all the time. Whatever they do, we got to be foaming at the mouth, because see, what they think is that, oh my goodness, oh my God. And my class enemies that look like me will say in a minute, oh my God, oh, cheers again. Oh God, I wish, oh God, my God. What are you arguing about now? That's their favorite slogan. I said about you. I said, and how you don't follow through and do what you're supposed to do, even though you look like the sufferers. You are the pig who hands them over. And once we understand the pig, we understand the color of that is red blood of our people. That's the color of a pig, who give up his mama, his daddy, his sisters, his brothers, his cousin, just to stay in the good graces of his master. Now, I didn't come to do all of that, but I can't leave. I can't come from Mississippi and not talk about race traitors and class enemies. I can't come from Mississippi and tell you that we've overcome, black and white together, join hands. I'm talking about Nina Simone's Mississippi. And what did she say about Mississippi? God damn. She said it. She said, Alabama's got me so upset. Tennessee made me lose my rest. But everybody knows it's Mississippi. God damn it. I love this verse. She says, keep on talking, go slow. But that's just the trouble. Too slow. Right? Too slow. What she say? Fixing houses, too slow. Washing windows, too slow. You're thinking's crazy, too slow. You're just plain lazy, too slow. But then we don't stop and think, how can a people with a legacy of 400 years of no compensation whatsoever, I ain't talking about sharecropper wages, I ain't talking about no stipend or rations, I'm saying, how can somebody with 400 years of history of no compensation suddenly be called lazy, shiftless, and don't want to work? The history of work in this country goes back to those who've never had anything except pockets with holes in them, and not even a change of underwear. That's us. That's all of us who suffer. And so the system is not just broken, it's rotten to the core, and it's got to come tumbling down. The legacy of slavery, the legacy of theft, discovery. Hello, I see you, so you exist. Okay. Oh look, oh wow, oh, wow, my God. Look, there's Brenda Stokes. Well, my gosh, I didn't know you were alive. I didn't know you were born. So soon as I come, because I'm in power, if I discover you, you exist. If I don't acknowledge you, you're dead. And we got to be militant. We got to be revolutionary. We got to be militant. We got to remember the block and the splinters of wood left from the auction block. We got to remember the murders under the color of law. We got to remember idiots who have a PhD who say, well, my God, well, what did the little boy Emmett Till, what did he say to the white woman? And then they wonder why people go off and go into workplaces and spray the whole place. You say crazy stuff like that, and if I jump on you and throw you down and I'm choking you, I gotta go in the clink for that. But really, I should be throwing a party for that. Because you're saying stuff that's absolutely crazy. Well, what does it matter? And so when they edit the film that we were part of, the Murder in Black and White, and I said, but it doesn't matter. Because whatever he did is not a capital crime. To speak to a white woman is not a capital crime. But we are so conditioned, and the stuff is so deeply embedded in us, every now and then we stop and think, oh my God, if only he hadn't said anything. If only he hadn't been black and poor and of a single mother whose father died. If only he hadn't been from the south side of Chicago and had Mississippi relatives. If only, if only. And we need to stop that. Now I want to leave you with this, because I know my time is up. I did 15 and you told me 10. See there, you should have stopped me a long time ago. Okay, I want to say that we have been organizing since 1996 this every other year conversation. And it's a no-nonsense conversation. We talk about Southern human rights, but we understand the connection between the struggle for human rights in the Deep South, where slavery was born, and the connections of the remnants of that Southern experience all across. I listened to the brother and sister say they're from Oakland. Oakland, Detroit, Cleveland, Ohio have the largest populations of black people born in Mississippi who now live outside Mississippi. So we talk about up south and west south. When we talk about those places, the same things that we talk about that destroy us in the South destroy you here as well. So we're asking you to take time to look at the materials that were given to you about the human rights struggle and the conference we're having in Charleston. How appropriately that we are sponsored by the Longshoremen's Local 1422, militant local founded by black men at a time when black people couldn't even hardly belong to locals in the ILA. That's where we're going to be meeting. Ken Riley, who's the first black president of AFL-CIO, is our host. And these brothers and sisters are revolutionaries. They work the system. They work within in ways that perhaps some of us don't. But they understand the connections. And we want you to be there to help make those connections for Alan, for Trayvon, for Emmett, for Fannie Lou Hamer, for Medgar Evers, for Mother Jones, for Ida Liuzzo, for everybody who ever dared to struggle, Schwerner, Cheney, and Goodman, all those who died in the haze of unfriendly fire and assassinations without due process, prosecution, or punishment to fit the crime. If there's time, I do have a special song later on that I'd like to share. Oh, you want me to do it now? Okay. All right. Okay. All right.